make sure that, sorry, now I started the recording, sorry. We're gonna make sure to use the chat function, and you can type in any ideas of different topics, and hopefully we can get to them at another meetup like this. And then if you have questions pertaining to what we talk about tonight, you can also use the chat function. There's gonna be time for Q&A at a couple of different sections, but in case you're like me and you'll forget your question, you can just type it in. We're gonna talk tonight about independence. And one of the things that we really work on in Montessori is developing children's independence, both in their actions and their abilities, and also in their thinking. We want them to develop the skills they need to learn how to do things for themselves. When children learn how to do things for themselves, like zippering their coat or pouring a cup of water without spilling, they feel proud and capable. And these feelings propel them to repeat these activities because it feels good and satisfying to engage in meaningful activities. And then a positive cycle gets created. The child practices a new skill, they feel proud of what they're able to do, and they want to do more. And this drive to learn comes from within. We call this self-motivation. We, as adults, can support children's independence by giving them opportunities to practice. You'll notice in Montessori classrooms that everything is child size and accessible to children. And we have materials that give them direct practice with independent dressing, eating, cleaning. And there are lots of, but Montessori, this approach is not just for the Montessori classrooms. You can also incorporate a lot of these ideas at home. And so we wanted to share some of those ideas with you tonight. And Andrea is going to talk through them and give you some really specific tips for things that you can do. Some of you might have already started this at home already, but here's a few extra ideas.
All right, so I'm gonna start telling you my experience. I started Montessori as a mom, and I didn't know anything about Montessori. And I was that parent that would carry my 3-year-old to the classroom, and Sally would be like, "What are you doing? You can walk alone." And sometimes it's just as a parent doing those things that they're totally capable of, and seeing them walk with their little backpacks all proud to the school, and that excitement of, I can do it myself. To me, that was the changing point as a mom, and how I wanted to incorporate it into our home. It's not that hard. I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed or think that you need to change your entire home, but just doing little things here and there, it's gonna make them feel really proud, it's gonna encourage independence, and it's gonna make life easier for you guys, I think. So what we wanna do is bring some of these little things that we do at home, at school I mean, and then carry them into your home, so they can be independent, because we've seen them be independent and we know they can do it. So bringing those little tips and tricks into the home might be great, because then we have that continuation of the independence. I'll tell you guys some of the things that I've done in my house that have worked really well for me, and just other things that I know have worked for other parents. I'm gonna start with getting dressed, because I feel like that might be one of the most challenging things for parents. So how do I get my kid ready in the morning and out the door on time without having a tantrum or without yelling, "Put those shoes on, we're running out of time"? So there's many tricks. Trick number 1 is give yourself enough time. If we don't have enough time, children cannot be independent. I actually saw Mark a few weeks ago waiting so patiently in the parking lot, letting Livy sip her coat all by herself because she knows she could do it. And I told him, I'm like, yay, thank you for just waiting and being patient. And then at the end, she was so excited that she had enough time and she sipped her little coat. So give yourself enough time, maybe waking a few minutes early and then letting them try without rushing out the door. Second idea is giving them choices. So in our house, you can actually see our little pile. Alex is going to school in the morning, and he already has the clothes that he's gonna wear in the morning at 4 p.m. the night before, because I don't want to struggle in the morning. So we go into his room when he gets from school, and he chooses which clothes he's gonna wear the next day, and I don't battle. If they don't match, that's okay, it's his choice. And then we're ready for the morning. My daughter, Sophia, was a different story. She used to have to get dressed at night. So she would take a bath, get dressed at night, and then go out the door because she didn't have enough time. And those are some things that you guys can do the night before. Also, you can always take them to school with their pajamas on and a little pile of their clothes, and that can be their first work. That's okay. We've done that. I've done it with my own kids. They can get dressed at school, and that can be part of their care of selves, getting dressed. I want to show you guys a little picture. Jen, I don't know if you have something. Oh, could you make me the host so I can share?
Yes.
I want to show you guys a picture of a little closet idea. So remember, it doesn't mean that you have to redo your home, but these little things are really going to help you. So let's see if this works. So I want to show you this little closet idea. So what they're doing is they are making their rod shorter. Can you guys see that? Oh, that's kind of blurry. But they're making their rods shorter, and the kids can hang their own clothes. They can access their underwear, their pajamas, their socks. It's easier for them to clean up as well. And at that age, that's something they could do. They could start learning how to hang their stuff and put their socks away, help sort the laundry. So that's a little idea of something that you guys can do at home. Jen, do you have something to add about getting dressed?
Oh, no, I think that you covered
Okay.
it.
And feel free to type questions on the chat if you guys have any questions. So simplifying what they wear, I think is really easy. Making choices the night before, and for example, just encouraging that independence, and Jen will talk more about this in a little bit, but encouraging independence when they're making choices. So, hey Alex, what shoes are you gonna wear? Are you gonna wear the blue shoes or the red shoes? The choice is still, you're kind of limiting their choices, but they're still feeling that they're in control. And I think that's a huge part of it. They want to be in control.
I'm sorry. I forgot something. Because I've seen this in the classroom before. It's also important to maybe buy clothes that are like a little stretchier or maybe an extra size too big, because there's nothing that's more frustrating than to try to get on clothes yourself that are too small. So that's one more little tip.
And that's the same with shoes. It's the same with coats. So it's going to be really hard for them to put on a coat that has several zippers, but maybe if it has Velcro or their shoes are just slip-ons, it's obviously going to be more easier than giving a 2-year-old something with shoelaces or something that's really tight to come in. So simplifying those choices. I know for a while in my home, and it's still the case, I'll go to Target, and if my son likes one pair of pants, I'll just buy it in every color they have it, because I don't want to fight that fight. So that's a little tips on getting dressed. If I'm skipping stuff and you guys have questions, please type them in the chat. The next area in the home that I think is a big deal is they won't clean their toys. What can I do so our house is tidy and they can keep their toys in order? So my first tip is to simplify your home. If you have lots of toys and your shelves are packed, most likely they're not even playing with those toys, or they don't remember what's in there. They don't clean it and it always looks messy. So for a while we started a trend in homes, and I know in stores, where you buy bins and you throw stuff in them. What happens there is that kids don't know what's in those bins, and then just it becomes something that gathers clutter. An idea for a Montessori toy area is that you keep toys in bins in storage, and you grab a few of them, display them on a shelf so they can see them and organize them. And then after a couple of weeks, you sort those toys out and get new ones out. When parents think like, oh, I'm gonna set up my home in a Montessori style, they wanna go shopping and buy these wooden gorgeous toys. That's not necessary. You can use the things you have at home in an exciting new manner. So once again, I'm gonna show you a little picture of a shelf that I think is great. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna, I think you guys can see that there. You're displaying your shelf in, these kind of looks like our classroom, and it doesn't have that many things, but there's no bins, there's no clutter. And what happens is that when it's time to clean up, they will know exactly where that toy lives on the shelf. There's not gonna be a mess. They will feel proud of their environment. They can help you set up that little area, and then maybe every month, oh, it's a new month, let's swap our shelf and get new things. And I promise you they will use more those things that you already have, that there's no need to buy other things. Jen, anything? I'm gonna move areas. Very good. Okay. The next area in the home that I think is super important is the kitchen. So in a Montessori kitchen, we're not going to use plastic, and we're not going to use fake things. We're going to use glass, and we're going to use wood, and we're going to use silver spoons and all the pretty things that you would want to use as an adult. This is going to teach them not just independence, but they're going to be really excited because you're treating them, you know, as you would treat yourself, and they're going to take, it's going to, sorry, let me arrange my thoughts. It's going to teach them what happens. So what happens if a glass breaks? Well, you know, in the classroom, we call an adult because it's glass and we know that that's scary. So we clean glass up and that's okay. But it's teaching them that immediate consequence of what's happening if I'm carrying my cup of water and my balance is off or whatever. They sell so many cool gadgets of knives and apple cutters, and we're gonna send you guys all this info, but I can even send you links to these, and they're safe for children, and they get so excited about food prep and making these things at home. So some of the things that a child from 2 to 6 year old can do in the kitchen is they can cut bananas, they can pour themselves water, they can grab a snack, they can unload the dishwasher or load the dishwasher. If they have a stool, we have a little stool by our sink, I don't know if you can see it, but they can rinse their plates out and clean after they're eaten. They can scrape their food in the trash. They can set the table, and that's super exciting for them. Again, I'm going to show you a little picture of what a kitchen would look in Montessori. And this one, I love the idea because it's just can you see that? Is their little, does that work, Jen? Can you see it?
Not yet.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay. So it's just in their cupboards, and they have their little cups that they can reach down low. They have stuff that they can use to clean. They have their bowls, and they have their utensils. And it's just emptying some low cupboards, and we've done that in our house. In this house, my kids have a little space where they can get their own snack, and when those snacks are gone, they're gone. But here's an example. I don't know if you guys can see. So there's an apple, a banana, there's a few things. And if all the snacks are gone at 2 p.m., well, those were snacks for the day, and that's the food that you can access, and that's healthy. And it does make life easier as a mom. Instead of, I'm hungry, I need a snack, feed me. They can feel independent, and they can know that they're taking care of themselves, and they feel so excited that they're doing it on their own. So that's a little other idea for kitchen. Let's see. So I know I talked too fast, I apologize, but basically you're simplifying, organizing, having stuff at their level, having furniture child size, having less is more. So instead of lots of things, having less is better for them, and trying to use real stuff. So setting up with stuff that you would use. And you can Google more of these, but I'm happy to send it. There's a whole lot of things that they could be doing by themselves at home. So they could be doing laundry, sorting socks, hanging their own clothes, making their own bed. We don't have to be doing these things for them. And I think as we have them help, we shouldn't make it a chore. We should make it really excited that they're taking care of their home and they're an important part of their little family, their little community, because that way they will take pride in their environment, which is their home, just like they do in the classroom. In their classroom, they take care of their works and their messes, and it makes them feel that love for their environment. And I think that's it for me.
All right,
I'm gonna make you the host.
Yeah, give it just a couple of minutes for a little Q&A if you had anything about what Andrea just talked about that you wanna touch back on.
I have one question. So one of the things that we were kind of struggling with is like Henry Martin, they really enjoy doing all of those things already, like laundry and making the bed and doing the dishwasher, and they're very active in taking care of the house, but they've been asking for ways that they can make money because they want to save money to buy something that they want. And so do you have any suggestions on like chore things that they can do that doesn't take away from them taking care of the house that they are already doing?
Do you want to chime in, Jen, or do you want me to answer?
Well, I would say briefly what I did with my own daughter is that
yeah, I can say my own experience.
I didn't necessarily tie it to specific chores. I just said, you know, if you complete your chores each week, you'll get $5 a week. And then within that, there was probably like 4 or 5 things that were set out for as her chores. Like when you get home each day, you need to put your shoes in your shoe basket. You need to hang up your jacket. You need to put your backpack away. Like whatever it is that, and at the end of the day, your toys you need to put away, and you brush your teeth each morning and night. Whatever the 5 things are, and as long as they're keeping those up with those things, then she would get the money each week.
It's so interesting how they get to that age and they just start asking for money. In our house, we did different chores that were not part of their daily chores. So mowing the lawn or weeding earned them extra cash, just things that were not part of what I wanted them to do on a daily basis. And obviously there's so many ways to do it, but what you don't want to do is have them just help for money. And it's tricky, it's a tricky balance, but I'm you can decide which are their daily things that they do have to keep on, and then decide whether they get an allowance or not. It's really tricky because we shouldn't be giving those gifts for the chores. So that's how I did it. In our house, they have extra jobs that they can get money for. So I mean, I can think of weeding right now. I can think of giving the dog an extra walk. Like that's something that it's not part of their daily chores, but if they decide to go on a walk, they can make $1, just, yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thanks.
And we can send out like an age appropriate chore
Yes.
list in addition to the things that Andrea already mentioned for this age group.
Okay.
Any other questions about how setting up your home or things that you're struggling at home that you would like some ideas or help? It could be anything. It could be from potty to getting dressed to the kitchen to snacks, anything. No, we can keep going if we don't have questions, and then we can do questions. Oh, Tom.
Margaret has a lot of accidents where she doesn't make it to the toilet on time, or she just pees where she's standing. And it comes and it goes in spurts. So what is your recommendation for curbing that?
My first question would be are you guys having her clean her accidents all by herself?
No.
That would be my first recommendation, because it works, and it works like magic. So, and we do it in Apple class all the time. We have a little area, so it has some wipes and it has special towels that I don't care for necessarily. It has the things that plastic bags, extra clothes. So it has the things that they would need to take care of their accident by themselves. And they don't love it, but it's their job. So I let them clean that accident all by themselves, and then later one of the teachers will go in and properly bleach it and clean it, but they're not seeing that part. I truly think it makes a huge difference when they start cleaning it. It worked for my daughter as well. I've done it with my son. We've done it, Kirsten can testify, we've done it with kids in the classroom, and it motivates them to stop. So that would be, I don't know if Jen, you have another suggestion, but that would be my first suggestion, like having them, and we don't make a big deal, and it's not negative, but it's just like, oh my, what can we do about it? And maybe the first time you're modeling how you clean it, and then I know we have a special box to take care of that. Should we go get our box? And involving her in that cleaning process of the accident, I think it's really good. Mm-hmm. without making it negative. There's no need, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I think just like staying really neutral about it emotionally,
Yeah.
which can be hard if it's frustrating.
It is so frustrating, but it makes such a big deal when we don't have a big reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. And then it will pass.
It will pass. And also, Tom, I can even send you a picture of the little setup we have in Apple. It's very simple, and it even has a little hamper where those, you know, you can put those towels and aside. You can have a little hamper. You can have different things so that laundry is not mixing with your other laundry. But I would be happy to tell you how to set up that area in the bathroom.
I think I have a vision. It'll basically be what I use to clean it up will now just be in a basket.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I do think that will help. I hope it does.
Okay, thanks.
Does anyone else have a question? All right, we will continue, and then if you guys have questions, feel free to chat them, and if not, we're gonna have a little Q&A at the end.
So I want to talk a little bit about struggle and persistence, and then praise. So you can expect that when your child is working on learning a new skill, there will be some struggles and some frustration, and that is actually a good thing. We want children to learn how to work through frustrations and to not give up. We want them to develop the persistence, which is also referred to as a growth mindset, meaning that if you work at something and you practice, you can get better at it. So that's really important. It can be quite hard to watch your child struggle. I am the parent of an only child, so there were many times when my husband and I were just available. We're just around all the time. So she felt like she could get a lot of help. And she did turn out to be a very independent person. But what I would do is actually just like make myself unavailable, leave the room, get really busy so that she had to kind of work through some things on her own, or that I didn't have to watch her work for 20 minutes to get her shoe on when I really wanted to get out of the house. So if I kind of took my mind off of it, I could let her have that important experience. Also, children learn so much from the way that we model things. So we can be really mindful of talking about things that are hard for us as we're doing them and kind of our strategies for working through it. And then also to share times maybe when you were a child, things that you thought were hard or were frustrating that you eventually were able to work through. And then also to help your child reflect back on things that used to be a struggle for them, but now they're able to do. So bike riding is a classic example because it can be so hard. But to refer back to, oh gosh, remember we fell off so many times, you kept getting back on the bike, you kept practicing, and now look at you, you can ride your bike all by yourself. So those kinds of examples tend to help your child a lot. We also want to help children develop their independence and their thinking. So as we're going through this whole process, one of the tips that we use in Montessori is we ask questions rather than just give answers. So if you're preparing to get out the door in the morning to say, and you notice that your child is missing their hat or their gloves or something like that, instead of just saying, get your hat, get your gloves so we can go, you could say, oh, I'm looking, it looks like we're all getting ready to go. I've got my hat on, I've got my jacket, I've got my gloves. What else do you need in order to be ready to get out the door? So asking questions as opposed to just giving information kind of gives your child a chance to work through the thought process themselves. Andrea, can you think of another great example of times when we use that?
I think that's a big one. Put your shoes on, we have to go. You can be like, oh my, I'm ready to get out of the door and I'm noticing that you're missing something. Could you check your body and make sure you have everything? It's time to go. And like I've said, sometimes they know, they just don't want to put their shoes on. So then instead of, let's put our shoes on, you can say, you know, we can choose to leave right now without shoes, or you could put your shoes on. So the choices, do you want to put the red shoes or the blue shoes? Are you going to walk barefoot or are you going to put your black boots on? We're leaving in 5 minutes. And those are your two choices. So they feel like they're in control. but in reality, you're setting those limits. Let's think of something that's not dressing. Maybe bedtime. Bedtime could be, so it's time for bed. I understand we call it, and this is part of the positive discipline class, but we don't say but, we say and. So it's bedtime, and I understand you're not wanting to go to bed. Do you want to read a book before bed, or should we sing a song before bed? So giving those choices and encouraging that independent thinking of what happens next, what am I missing, what's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would say, and also you could say like, well, what are the things that we need to do to be ready for bed? As opposed to just saying, okay, go brush your teeth, or okay, it's time to whatever the other things are your bedtime routine, but giving them a chance to kind of think through the process.
I think, especially if you have like a 3-4-year-old, a younger child that's not used to those routines, charts really help. In the coffee room of Apple class, I have, and it's a picture that I drew, but it's gloves, hat, mittens, boots, socks. So then we don't anymore, but now they can look at the chart and just see what's next. So even having a chart of your routine. So let's say, speaking of bedtime, you have dinner, brush teeth, read, cuddles, bed. And it can be pictures, it doesn't have to be words, but that way when you're encouraging that thinking, oh, what happens next? They know they have something that they can base on. And then later on, they won't need the chart, but to begin with, it's really helpful, I think.
I wanted to talk for just a few minutes about praise. I have read a number of articles, and there's like a growing body of research about praise and how sometimes in our culture we tend to overpraise children. So as we're talking about all this independence, there might be the tendency to kind of like shower lots of positive adoration about all the good things that they're doing. But what we really want is to acknowledge their hard work, but also allow them to start to develop that pride from within. So I wanted to give an example from the classroom, and then we can kind of talk through a few more things. But in the classroom, say a child this happens a lot. They roll up their rug really neatly, and they bring it over to show us, look how nice I rolled my rug. And there's like, let's say there's 3 different ways that I could respond. And I want you to kind of think from like a child's perspective, what this would feel like. Number 1, I could say, oh, you're such a good boy. Here's a sticker. Okay, that's one. I could say, good job. Or I could say, yes, you rolled your rug really neatly. It stands up straight and tall in the rug basket. You are doing such a kind thing to help our classroom look beautiful. So 3 very different responses. The first one, which maybe like is not, you don't hear this as much like stickers and rewards, but it definitely is something that happens sometimes. And also saying like, you're such a good boy, such a good kid for doing that. Start to equate doing something with being a good person or a bad person. So that message could get a little bit confusing. Like, okay, I get a good job with this. I'm good. But like, what happens when I don't do a good job? Does that make me bad? So really want to shy away from that kind of language. And then like the kind of toss away phrase, good job, it doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really hold much weight. And it's kind of like an offhand comment. I feel like we can take this as an opportunity to engage a little bit more with children and kind of start a conversation. So for instance, the last one where we talked about what we saw, like the rug being nice and tall and helping to take care of the classroom, that's considered more descriptive praise. So the adult gives appreciation for what they see or feel. It gives the child feedback about what it means to do that job well. And then after hearing the description, the child can praise themselves. They can feel good about the job that they did. So that kind of phrase and encouragement is more of an invitation and a chance for the child to share and reflect. Does anyone have a question about that? Maybe this is already familiar to you, or maybe that's kind of a new idea. I know for me, when I first came to Montessori and started hearing about that, I really had to rethink the way that I praised. It wasn't natural to me at first, and something that I've had to work at.
I know that was my hardest thing to do. And so once in a while, good job still slips away. But the easiest way for me to remember is finding adjectives. So let's say they come to you with a picture. And Mom, look at the picture I made. Instead of saying, I love it, it's so pretty. My judgment, I think your picture is great. So instead of saying that, it could sound something like this. Look at that picture, it's so colorful. I noticed you use lines and you use triangles. How do you feel about your picture? Does it make you feel proud? So my judgment leaves 100%. I am stating, so there's statements about the adjectives of what the picture looks like. And this works with everything. So let's say my daughter comes and she's like, Mom, I cleaned my bedroom. Instead of saying something which maybe I would say like, good job, or I think your bedroom looks great, I could say something like, it looks really tidy in here. How does it make you feel when your room looks like that? Does it feel nice to be in your room like that? So at the same time, we're encouraging that independent thinking. How do you feel when you do these? And what does it bring to you versus our judgment? I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, that was the easiest way to remember it. Finding an adjective. So, oh, your bedroom looks really clean. Your bedroom looks icy. There's no more clothes on the floor. How do you feel about that? So asking questions and looking for those adjectives to describe the picture, the bedroom, their zipper, anything. Should we unmute and do some questions?
Oh yeah, if anybody has something they want to add or another question, just unmute yourself, because we're ready.
So like we said, at the end of these, Jen and I are going to work on putting a little handout for you guys, and it will have everything that we talked about, little tips for home, and any questions that you guys send about what we're talking about, the answers for them. I hope this is not a lot and it helps you just facilitate your everyday life and bring what we're doing in the classroom into your house. And like I said at the beginning, just that continuum of, we do Montessori here and at home, and it's easier for them to do this or to become independent little people, which is the coolest thing to watch. When they feel proud because they did something. I had a little boy, speaking of the rug, he came with a rug and he didn't even talk to me, which I thought it was interesting, but he passed me with this super tight rug. He puts it in the basket and he goes, oh man, I feel proud of myself. I'm like, yes, that's what we want. The teacher is out of the picture. Maria Montessori said, and this is my favorite quote, never help a child with a task they think they can succeed. And so many times as an adult, I have to stop myself. So they'll be struggling with their zipper, but they haven't asked for help. And so many times as an adult, we'll be like, can I help you? Do you need help? And just standing back and observing and giving them the time to try to figure it out, you can see how their brain sparks and how they feel so excited that they accomplish it. And even if they do ask for help, maybe saying something like, I saw that you were really trying. Do you want to try one more time? I can maybe get it started for you and then we can finish it together. Instead of like, oh, sure, I'll do it for you. So I think and it's tricky, but if the repetition, I think in my opinion, my vocabulary, repetition is key. So getting used to asking questions and encouragement, it just switches. It took me a couple of years, but I feel like it's slowly switching. Does anybody have questions? Or
I have a little poster that has like a lot of different phrases that help when you're trying to find the right words to use. So I'm just going to share that with us on the screen real quick so you can take a look, and then we'll definitely include it later on. So let me do that real quick. Okay, here it is. Oh, nope. That didn't work. Let's see. All right. Can you see it right now? Okay. So just to share a few ideas, thank you for helping with making your room tidy, or it makes mornings so much easier when you take care of your brushing your own teeth without having to be reminded. Or, wow, you made a drawing. Tell me a little bit about it. What's this over here? Or what were you thinking about when you started working on that? So anyway, there's lots of suggestions here, and we'll make sure that we include it in the follow-up to the meeting.
Does anybody have comments, questions, stories? Hi, girls. I just saw you, Livy and Maddie.
I have a question. If anybody has any handy advice for how to have Montessori in the home without a small person trashing said Montessori in the home, I'm all ears for any suggestions that are out there.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
I don't know if it's putting him in a, you know, in a box, or I don't know how you do that, I guess.
Wow, that is a really good question. I've only ever had one, so I feel like I need to dig into that a little bit.
I'm trying to remember what we did, but I feel like my poor little daughter had everything destroyed by Alex. Right,
Yeah.
Kirsten? You know.
Stuart will trash everything that you put out real fast.
Kind of how it went. Rachel, you're on that right now. Do you have any advice?
I do not have any advice. I would love the answer to that question as well.
Jen and I will research these subjects and come with
My youngest child is absolutely a beast. He just trashes and throws and destroys. So I
remember those days. We're gonna have to do some research and get back to you guys on that. Maybe that's when you do want the bins, even if you only have a couple of things inside those bins at a time. I'm sorry, Emily, I wish I had a really smart answer, but I don't. But I will research it. I bet there's an answer out there. There has to be a Montessori mom that has figured these out already.
I think one of the things we try is just distraction a lot for the other one, which is not really like an arrangement for your household, but it's kind of a like momentary thing when you're trying to.
I remember that. We would give Alex the little like melt puffs that don't really have calories, just so he would sit, or Cheerios, like just sit so your sister can draw and you don't eat the markers. We'll find an answer. I'm gonna do some research.
What we did was Ella was always really active, and she loves destroying things to this day. When she was little though, and she couldn't be reasoned with, they had separate areas. We really limited toys in the like living area. And then I don't know what your setup is in terms of rooms, but like Noah's toys that were really precious to him stayed in his room. And if he wanted to play with those.
Sophia still does that. Her special markers and pens and everything are just in her bedroom. I do have one tip that I remember I did with Alex. I would get newspaper or magazine or like even wrapping paper. I remember giving it to him so he could destroy it, just things that are okay to break. So we would have a little basket of like, you can break anything in these box. I remember just every time we got like an Amazon box, the bubble wrap and the papers. So it was like his destruction box. Although he would still go for the Legos that his sister was building, he did have a little destruction box. We did that in the classroom too. I had these little boys who would break everything. So then I gave him a hammer and chalk, and I was like, go for it. Like, this is okay to break. Let's break it. So maybe he can have a little breaking box.
Breaking crayons. They love to break
like that idea.
Crayons.
Daddy, that's Jen.
Does anyone else have a question? Comment, question, anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
when Isabella is brushing her teeth, she gets distracted, and she's not at a level where she's going to brush her teeth to my expectations or her dentist expectations, especially the flossing.
Yes.
Is there any quick way to get her involved so that my obsessive compulsive behavior doesn't transmit to her? She needs to learn to brush her teeth, but also she needs to be as effective as to satisfy myself and her dentist.
So my father-in-law is a dentist, and this is what the advice that he gave us. An electric toothbrush makes a big deal on how they're brushing their teeth. The little flossers that have the sticks, they can use those. I don't know if you've seen those, but they have the little plastic sticks.
Right.
And Sophia and Alex have a little sand timer on their sink, and they need to brush their teeth for that long. So I think it's a 30-second one, but they have to continue. I don't know what it is about the sand, but they get so excited about watching the sand that they're just mesmerized with the sand while they're using the electric toothbrush. And I thought it made a huge difference. I don't know if Isabella would be excited about it, but a little timer for how long she has to actually brush it. Maybe she can have a dinosaur timer. I know she loves dinosaur, or a dinosaur toothbrush. That would be super exciting. I think making things for them that they love, a little dinosaur cup. I'm picturing a whole dinosaur toothbrush area. But the little sand timer and the electric toothbrush help my OCD expectations of their teeth.
She does an electric toothbrush, and it probably does good or better than average, but her input, I think, with a timer would be important. I think they have to do it for 2 minutes.
They have so many. You can type on Amazon like children's timers, and they have them for everything. I'm sure they have a dinosaur one where you can set the 2 minutes or whatever, however long it is. They have ones
Can I
that
interject?
little lights. Yes.
Well, I'm in the bathroom. We have found this to be really helpful. It's, I think it's called Brushing Buddy. And my nephew with autism actually has used this before. Hannah, that's the reason we ended up getting it. But you flip it up, and then it lights up the different spots, and it goes through a whole song, and it's like it sings for various parts of your mouth and whatnot. It's worth looking at, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing.
I think whatever help we can get as parents, we should take it. Technology is our friend when it comes to that. Do you feel okay with that answer?
Oh, yes. I think the timer is going to be so she doesn't have to listen to me tell her to do this and that.
I know that Jen and I were going to bring that up, yeah.
She needs to take the responsibility of brushing certain areas for a certain amount of time. That has nothing to do with me. And
honestly, you guys, the timers help for everything. They help for how long is it gonna take you to get dressed before we go to school? How long do you have to brush your teeth for? How long are we gonna sit quietly and look at a book? They're game changers, I think. Not only in the home, we use them in the classroom all the time. So it's also something that they know how it works. There's even timers where this is bedtime because it's blue, and yellow means you can leave your bedroom. Here in Montana, when it's always dark in the winter and they don't know if it's bedtime or not. There are so many good options too. On Amazon, if you type, the name is Time Timer, there's so many cool ones.
Okay.
Anyone else? There's so many of you guys, and I don't see everyone. There's videos off. If you have a question, feel free, even if your video is off, just chime in. We only have 10 minutes left. I feel like we did really good on time. We appreciate you all. I know Jen already plugged our harvest test, but we are really excited that we're able to do it, even if it looks a little different this year, and we could use all the help. It's such a special day for the kids. And then it's volunteer hours. Anyone else? Jen, do you have anything to add? Or Kirsten or Michelle, you guys can add too.
I was just thinking about Harvest Fest and those costumes. So maybe a good practice would, not that, and your child is probably going to be super eager to wear whatever the costume is. So maybe a little practice run of putting it on and taking it off so that when they come to school and it's all bagged up, they already have had a chance to practice getting the ensemble on.
Yes, I love that idea. Livy and Maddie, you look tired. Are you tired? No. No.
I finished 100 for today.
Yes. How did you feel about that?
Well, we're missing 63.
Oh, what? We're gonna have to look for it. All right, you guys, I think we can wrap it up. We appreciate all of you for joining us. Thank you so much. If you have questions even after these, procare us or message us or email us, and we'll make sure that we answer any future questions. I hope you guys.
Hi.
I love you.
Hi.
Isabella,
Noah.
our video's not working, I don't think.
Hi, Isabella. Hi, Noah. Hi, Felix.
Yes.
Hi, Ella. We will see you guys tomorrow. We're excited for a fun Friday tomorrow.
You can talk to me tomorrow.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
You guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
All right.